भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येमाक्षभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवागुंसस्तनूभिः व्यशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति न इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। हरिः ॐ।
Dear friends, we have completed the study of the first Mundaka with the 2 chapters, totaling 23 verses of the Mundaka, which consist of about 64 verses. Probably 1/3 of it, the first Mundaka, has been completed. I feel I was a bit hurried in concluding the 2nd chapter of the first Mundaka, because it was repetitive of the ideas. What is that idea? The idea is that all the ritualistic worships that are mentioned in a section of the Vedas known as Karma Kanda, they are performance of certain enjoined, disciplined rituals with a desire that by performing it perfectly and correctly, we will have an eternal life in paradise. And from various standpoints, the last few shlokas of the 2nd chapter of the first Mundaka was repeating those same ideas. Why? Because the Upanishad, which is like a mother, wanted to create a field of contrast. What is that contrast? This is this, and this is this. Now use your brains, use your intellect, use your understanding to decide which is better for you. That is what the main theme of the end shlokas of the 2nd chapter of the first Mundaka was. That is why I was a little hurried in concluding it. But as because we have concluded the first Mundaka, 23 shlokas, let us very rapidly look over what we have studied up till now. We should always remember how it starts and how it ends, how logical, how rational, how sequential it is. That satisfies that we are not being taken on a drive. We are not being taken out on a ride that are just confused. So, how does it start? It starts answering to our perpetual question. What is that perpetual question? You say it is eternal. Brahman, let me now use these words because you are aware of it. The Atman and Brahman is eternal. And you say it is not visible. It is not perceptible by your sense organs. What is reality to me is what I see with my 5 sense organs and what I interact with in this concrete, solid, material world, even in the world of ideas. That is concrete, real to me. and you say God has become everything. All these self-contradictory statements which don't gel together, which doesn't fit in together, could you kindly explain to me who created these ideas? Upanishads, Mukti Shastra, Moksha Shastra, if you come close to these ideas, your ignorance will be shaven off like a sharp razor. That is what Mundaka means. You claim all these things, but to my understanding, it is an utter confusion and contradiction of ideas. So come clean and explain to me in my own language that I am able to understand what is all this about. The first question answer to it is, look, that eternal, out of sheer loneliness, I am alone. I would want to be many. Eko aham, I am alone. Bahut sham, I would like to be many, so that I can play with myself. Prajaya, he creates this whole cosmos. And then the creation is materialistic. So spirit and matter, they are not coinciding together. So what is the answer? The answer is Tat Srishtva Tad Eva Anupravisat Satcha Tatcha Bhavat. These are the quotations from another Upanishad, the Taittiriya Upanishad. What does it say? That eternal absolute entity, to explain to you that he is available in this world, how the idea is being developed, he is alone. He feels his loneliness. He wants to be many and to play with himself. With this idea, he creates. And having created materially 5 basic elements, earth, water, fire, air, ether, they are all matters. So, where is his eternal presence coming from? Tat Srishtva Tad Eva, having created that, he entered into it, saturated it through and through by his presence, by his spirit. And that state of the Absolute, known as Nirguna, Nirakara, Nirvikalpa Brahma, or Satchidananda Swarupa Atma, myself, and the essence of the world, they are the same. I am Atma Brahma. And the purpose of the study is to know thyself. Who will teach us? A human being full of faults and failures and ignorance? No. God created himself, Nirguna Nirakara Brahma, out of sheer compassion, creates himself as Lord God of the universe, Parama Ishvara, the creator, the preserver, and the destroyer of this universe. This destruction means he destroys your ignorance. The world doesn't evaporate. Your ignorance is destroyed. He is the creator, he is the preserver, and he is the destroyer, means he is the master of this change going on, and the ultimate change is your ignorance is wiped out. So, the first pertinent question, who created this universe? If it is a human, it will be full of faults. But how can that absolute eternal be phenomenal? He creates himself in the phenomena. He wills it and it happens. Let there be light, and there was light. That's what we find in the Bible also. We find the similar statements in all other texts, religious texts. The Upanishad puts it this way. The first question is answered. That the wisdom of the Upanishad is an emanation from the divine, shasa prashasabhat, like inhalation and exhalation of a human system. This Upanishad and the Veda Rashi is an inhalation and exhalation of the divine, as spontaneous as that. What is the absolute and what is the phenomenal? The absolute is Akshara Brahma, and a phenomenal is the Kshara Prithvi, Vishwa. Kshara means changeful. And change means it is changing every moment. That is what it was in the previous moment. It is destroyed and has given place to a new one. That is the concept of change. Destruction of the previous moment, creation of the new moment. Time flows and the change is a part of that flow of time. And the Upanishad is like a mother. So what does Upanishad say? It doesn't teach of Nirgun, Nirakara, Nirvikalpa, Brahma, the Absolute straight away. He says, remember, that is the end result. That is where you have to reach. But there's a process of reaching there. You can't jump like a monkey from a branch of this tree to the branch of that tree. That is not the process. The process is a gradual evolutionary process by means of which you develop the clarity of your vision, the transparency of your perspective, and correction of your attitude. That is the evolutionary process. Upanishad, like a mother, will hold you by your hand and gradually take you up there. In the first 23 shlokas of the Mundaka Upanishad, we have seen this part to start with, that Akshara Brahma becomes Parama Ishvara, Saguna Shakara Brahma. He creates this world, he permeates it, and he speaks about the reality as spontaneously as breathing. And that is what Upanishad and the Veda Rashi is all about. Don't question its authority, it is from the divine. It is from the absolute. This is A. B is, you tell me you can't jump from this tree to that tree like a monkey. It's a gradual process of evolution. How does that evolution take place? The evolution takes place by living in this world. Be successful in this world. And while living in this world, while enjoying the joys of success, the joy of success, keep your eyes and ears open. Don't lose your objectivity. Don't lose your power of analysis. don't forget to ask why, how, what for. What does it mean? Keep your faculties, rationality, emotionality, ingenuity and willpower, these four faculties alert while you are using them to succeed in this world, to enjoy the fruits of your hard work, but keep your objectivity open. Don't get messed up. Try to analyze what is happening to you. I am working hard. I find success is eluding me. And I find he's not working hard and he's being showered with success. Why so? Why so? There must be something which is discriminatory. I am doing this. I am not getting. He's doing nothing compared to me and he's enjoying it. Why so? Either you think of your Purva Janma Karma Phala, Phalavad, or you leave it to the will of the Almighty. But if you say will of the Almighty, that Almighty is partial. Doesn't appeal. It must be your drishta karma phala. This is how you keep your faculties alert, that he must have done something extremely good in this life, previous to this occasion, or in previous life. And he's enjoying the infallible law of cause and effect. He's enjoying the effect of the causes that he has created. There are so many ways of looking at it. Coming back to the Upanishad, Upanishad starts it as a tale. Shaunaka, son of Shunaka, was Mahashala. That is the word used in the Upanishad. Mahashala means a man of great achievement. That means a man who has enjoyed the fruits of his hard work in this world. He has enjoyed it. But he lives in a society where Atma Charcha, that is cultivation, culture of Brahma Vidya, is paramount in those forest days of civilization. He has heard there is something experiencing which, not knowing which, experiencing which, the desire to enjoy the world, the desire to know is totally satiated. Satiated means totally washed away. I want this. This thirst is totally satiated. He knew that this is the knowledge, this is an education which is not available in the marketplace. She goes to a Rishi Angirasa, and asks him, "Dear sir, I've been hearing this tale, that there is something experiencing which nothing remains to be experienced. I am satiated, I am full, purna, I am complete. Is there anything, sir? Kasminnu vigyate bhagavo vigyatam bhavatiti. Vigyate, not gyate. Experiencing and knowing. Please know, knowledge is an activity of the brain and a result of certain questioning and pursuit. It is rational, remains in the brain, it is intellectual, it's a faculty. It comes and it goes. Experiencing is which is eternal. By way of example, I am 96 years old. If my memory is sharp, I remember very important things, almost whatever has happened in my life. And the most important thing is, I was a baby, I became a child, I became an adolescent, youth, a mature youth, a young adult, a mature adult, an old man, a tottering old man, almost on the grave. This is what I am. But I am constantly aware I am. This awareness of my amness is a constant factor which I experience. I can't show it on a platter to you. This is experiencing, and that is knowing. So it's very careful to ask a question. Is there anything, oh dear Lord, experiencing which there is nothing left to be known? Could you tell me? That is how the Upanishad starts. So it is but Upanishad's purpose to take us by our hand, step by step, to that promised goal. Good enough. What next? He has said the wisdom cannot be questioned, it is emanating from God. Then he defines what is that object which is to be experienced, which is your true original nature, oneness. That is what I know I am within myself. It is in this external world. I am here, I am everywhere. How to know that? This is how the Upanishad starts, and in the first chapter of the Pratham Mundaka, the 9th shloka says, Jas sarvagya sarvavit, jasya jnanamayam tapa, and etc. That is a description, the nearest possible description without limiting it within words. Unlimited freedom. Here I'll be a bit technical, but I have told you before, just to remind you. I am aware of my bushwalk. I'll go here, I'll go there. I am told, after climbing and going down a valley, I will have to cross a creek. My plan tells me. So I walk according to my plan, and then I find there's a bifurcation of a road. Walk away, footpath, and I don't find specific instruction on my plan which road I go to reach that creek, water lavy. I'm in two minds. I sit and wait. Let me see. If some passerby, a traveler, is coming up this way, coming up that way, I will ask him, did they get a creek or not? He saw a person, runs to him. Sir, did you find a creek here? He says, yes, it is down there. You don't see the creek, down deep in the valley. That man is very helpful, very observant, watchful. He says, wait a minute, do you see that tall tree? Yes, sir, tall tree. Now, go straight down along the trunk of the tree. Imagine. Yes, sir. The creek flows by the trunk of the tree. I don't see the creek, but he has found out an example. He has found out certain words which he has knitted together intelligently, backed by his own experience and observation. He says the creek flows by the trunk of the tall tree. You see the top of the tree. You don't see the trunk, you don't see the creek, but you are convinced. That is known as Tatastha Lakshana. You explain by sign and symptom the correct direction to reach, and to some extent what will be the quality of your experience. Just a suggestive way, not in totality. If it is totality, then it is limited by words, which is not eternal. So, through the help of Tatastha Lakshana, Ya Sarvagya Sarvavid Jasya Jnanavayam Tapa Tasmad Brahma Nama Rupam Cha Jayate. From that, the whole world has come up, and it goes back to that. Goes back to that. We have studied that much. Now it starts Apara Vidya Vishaya. That is, rituals and where it takes you to. Good enough. I have understood that. Now who will teach me where do I go from here? He says that, look, you have to develop that intense inquisitiveness, thirst of knowledge, to know the truth and nothing else but the truth. Truth alone interests me and nothing else. Reality alone interests me and nothing else. That immutable Brahman of which you have defined to me, I would like to reach there. That is how, dear, the second chapter of the first Mundaka comes to a close. Lokan Pariksha. Karmachitan Lokan Pariksha. That which is generated by ritualistic worship, a person desirous of knowing Brahman, Brahmano, Karmachitan Lokan Pariksha, he analyzes it, he pits it this way and that way, and he sees it, whether it's solid or hollow, and then he decides, Nasti Akrita Kritena. That is, with desirous activities of infinite life in heaven, is a contradiction in terms. It cannot be achieved. Eternal reality cannot be achieved by phenomenal, desireful activities. For that matter, he approaches a teacher. How he approaches? Uparata Karana Grama. Darpadi Dosha Bihaya. These are excellent words of the Upanishads. What is it? Nirvedamaya nasti akrita kritena. He goes to a guru with the ultimate humility and modesty. Darpa adi doshaya vihaya. Darpa adi dosha vihaya. Darpa, egoistic. This ego is like a Chinese wall between you, what you think yourself to be, and you, what you are in reality. This ego. It's a Chinese wall between the two. That wall has to be removed. So he has to be humble. Humility and modesty means absorbability. Whatever is said, you retain and you. My guru has told me so. That's it. Nothing more matters. I'll stick to that. And he goes to a guru with all humility and etc., etc., etc. And immediately the Upanishad assures you, if that guru is an honest person, Shrotriyam Brahmanishtam Guru, that a guru should be well versed in Shruti, that is the Upanishads, and he should be absolutely saturated with that wisdom. Brahmanishtam, absolutely poised, ensconced, irremovably settled in this wisdom. I am that. That guru is bound down by a responsibility. Not that you have enjoyed yourself and you are free to enjoy. No, you have a responsibility. If you have a worthy person, you must pass on this wisdom to it. Tasmai upasannaya samyak. Tasmai savidyan upasannaya samyak. Prashanta chittaya samanitaya. Jena aksharam veda satyam. Jena akshara purusha veda satyam. Tan tattato prabhacha brahma vidya. What is it? If you are convinced about the modesty, honesty of that boy who wants to learn from you, if you are convinced, you have no escape. You have to hand all your wisdom to him and see to it that he absorbs and he in due course of time becomes a guru. In due course of time means he achieves that goal and becomes a guru. Not because he is a senior. No. This is how, dear, the first Mundaka ended. The second Mundaka takes up. I have now known that all this Kriya Karma, Kriya Kanda, Karma Kanda, and etc., they're all temporary. This going and coming, this circle of birth and death and rebirth continues. I'm tired. I would like to find my soul. The second Mundaka starts on that premise. The second Mundaka starts with a description, and a description always leads to a conclusion. Let us read at it first. Tadetat Satyam. In the second chapter of the first Mundaka, it started with Tadetat Satyam. This also starts with Tadetat Satyam. What does it mean, dear? That which appears real to you has a hold of reality on you. The world appears to be real to me. It is real. I can touch it, I can feel it, I can smell it, I can hear it, I can see it. It is real. But on critical analysis, it is changeful. And whatever is changeful is nothing else but it will be destroyed in point of time. It will disintegrate in point of time. But to me, the world is real. That tadetat satyam mentioned thereby was what appears to be true and which has a hold of reality in me. Here, tadetat satyam is again being used. This is the reality of the real. Tadetat satyam. Now the teacher, the Shrotriyam, Brahmanishtam Guru is advising Prashanta Chitta Samannita Shishya. This is how you should start the second Mundaka. What is true? He gives you an example. What is that? Yatha. Yatha means as for example. Sudipta Pavakat Vishpulinga Sahasrasa Prabhavante Sarupa. Sarupa Sahasrasa Vishpulinga Sudipta Pavakat Prabhavante. This is the paraphrase. This is a poem and this is the paraphrase. What is the paraphrase? A blazing fire, Sudipta Pavaka, a roaring, blazing fire. Jatha, as for example. What happens in that blazing fire? Thousands and thousands of sparks flow off. It's a common example. All of us will say, yes, sir, we have seen it. Yes, sir, we have seen it. Now, he draws your attention to look at this fire which sparks with an attitude, with a perspective, with an understanding. What is that? The sparks are also fire. That blazing fire can burn away things in a fraction of a moment. Whereas that blazing fire from which the sparks have come out, they are fire. Qualitatively, they are the same. But capacity-wise, quantitatively, they are microscopically small. The blazing fire can burn something big and huge in a twinkling of an eye. But a spark can make a hole in your shirt sleeve. But it's a fire. The fire here is being given as an example, a blazing fire and a spark of a fire. That is what the example is. And because at that time, such examples were almost commonplace. So this sketch was good enough. Let us go ahead. I have an earthen pot. I take that earthen pot to the Parramatta River. I sit in a boat and sink that pot in water. Good enough? That pot of water contains a portion, a microscopic portion of the Parramatta River. I lift it up out of the water. That Parramatta river water is now separated by the size and the shape and the name and the utilitarian value of that pot. It is water of the Parramatta river. Now I call it a pot water. I have, because of my misconception, because of my attitude, I think that water is different from the Parramatta water, because I hold it separately. Someone comes and playfully breaks that pot. The water of the pot goes back to the Parramatta water. Similarly, is water is a material here. Now, let us say the ether, or let us say air. Here's the balloon, pumped with air. Air contained in a balloon. Where did it come from? The main source of air. Now it's a balloon air. You prick the balloon. The air goes back to its nature. These are the examples from our childhood we have been playing with. But nobody ever taught us that air, when it is contained in a different container, it has a different name, different usage, different everything. But basically it is one with air. Nobody had told me that. Here, the Upanishad is giving us an example. A blazing, roaring fire, from which, not from anywhere else, thousands and thousands of different sparks of different capacity to burn. A spark falls on a paper and the paper burns away. But the spark falls on my linen, it can only make a hole through it. Nothing more. Similarly, from that Akshara Brahma, Vividha Somya Bhava Prajayate Tatreva Upiyanti. How precise and perfect. Let me read the shloka to you now. Tadetat Satyam. Now the teacher is teaching Paravidya Vishaya to the student. Up till now it was Aparavidya Vishaya, and a student by his own introspection and experience has found out Aparavidya Vishaya is Anitta, is Kshara. Now he has come to his Guru, and Guru is teaching him the basic concept of what is Akshara, Parama Brahma, and what is this world which has come out of it, and we think it to be separate, but ultimately it goes back to it. And I'll give you an example, dear intellectual, so that you can understand it intelligently. Let me read this shloka now. Tat etat satyam. This is introducing the Paravidya Vishaya, the reality of the real. What is it? Jatha, as for example, Shudiptat, Pavakat, Vishpulinga, Sahasrasha Prabhavate Sarupa. There are thousands of sparks. Qualitatively they are fire. Quantitatively one is microscopically small and the other is infinitely large. Space and its utility makes the difference. Tatha, with this example, Bibidha Somya Bhava Tatha Aksharat. From this immutable Brahman, Bibidha, diverse bhava, elements, he Somya, prajayate, tatraiva apijanti. It comes of it, it goes back to it. The water in a pot of Parramatta river or air in a balloon. It comes out of it, it goes back to it. It achieves, because of my ignorance, 4 concepts: name, form, quality, and utilitarian value. These are the concepts on which our life rotates. Nama, Rupa, Guna, Artha, Kriya, Karitya. Name, form, qualities, and utilitarian value. But in all of them, what is hidden? This is my intelligent analysis from the Bhashyas, Shankara Bhashya, which for you to understand. Now understand. It is that eternal entity is. When you look at yourself, you say, I am Sat Sarup, Chit Sarup, Ananda Sarup Atma. That is what I am in my Nirvikalpa Samadhi Avastha. Nirakara without any form, Nirguna without any name, etc., etc. Nam Rupa Bharjita without name, without form. I am. Isness, Satta, Satsarupata. And I am aware I am. Chetana, Chitsarupata. Sat Chit and Ananda Sarupata. Dvaitad vai bhayam bhavati. Whenever there is duality, there is fear of each other. Advaitam abhayam bhavati. That when you are alone, yourself, nothing to worry. So he says, from this everything comes up. If you educate yourself to get rid of the hold of the Nama, Rupa, Guna and Artha Kriya Karitya through a disciplined process of self-education, wiping out the mirror, wiping out your own vision and see the reality in itself. Tatha aksharat bibidha bhava he Somya. O well poised, well settled, a person full of tranquility who cannot be disturbed or excited. He is absolutely steady. Without that stillness and steadiness, you cannot reach that one. Unsteadiness or restlessness is because you are identifying yourself with your vrittis, your mental modulations. You have to be sobhya. Prajayate tatraiva apijanti. It comes out of that isness, becomes many, the 4 concept disappears, it goes back to itself. And that is why in the Mundaka Upanishad, one of the famous statements of the Upanishad has been mentioned, Tasmat Jayate. The whole of this world has been created by me, by my ignorance. From that eternal entity, all this has come up. What is that eternal entity? Satswarup, Chitsarup, Anandasarup Atma, Nitya, Suddha, Buddha, Mukta Atma. From that, because of my ignorance, this diversity is created. And when you are in Samadhi, Nirvikalpa Samadhi, all that mental modulation has ceased to have a hold on you. You have stopped all that, and the mirror is clean, and your true original nature blossoms out. It goes, the whole world goes back to that. It comes out of it, the jalam shanta upasita. From that, from which it has come out, into which it goes back, and to that akshara, the Shanta Purusha keeps on concentrating on. This is how the second chapter, full of practical disciplines to be practiced by us if we want to reach that goal, is being mentioned. Let me read it and close it for the day. Tad etat satyam. Now listen to me, the real truth. What is that? I give it to you as an example. Yatha. Shudiptat pavakat. That is a roaring, blazing fire, from which Vibhidha, Sahasrasha, Spulinga is spark. Thousands and thousands of sparks come out of that blazing fire. And ultimately, it goes back to its origin source. From where it came out, it goes back to that. Tasmat jayate, tasmin liyate. How? By getting rid of these four concepts. Sahasrasha Sarupa Vishpulinga Prabhavante. Tatha. With that as an example, therefore come to this conclusion. Aksharat, from that immutable Brahman, which is immutable, cannot be partitioned, cannot be mutated, infinite, eternal, immutable. From that absolute, Vividha Somya Bhava, ideas and the matter. Idea is also a subtle matter, work of your mind. It's in the material world. All that has come out from it and goes back to Tatha Aksharat Vividha Somya Bhava Prajayate. They are created by my ignorance. Tatreva apiyanti. And it goes back to it when my ignorance has disappeared. This is what the teacher will teach you now through various disciplines. Let us be prepared for those studies during our next class. So we have studied the second Mundaka, first chapter, and we have studied the first shloka. Thank you, dears. Thank you ever so much.
Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Tat Sat Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.